This is 5 Live.
It's 6:37. Good morning. The Independent Police Complaints Commission is investigating after the former Aston Villa player Dalian Atkinson died after being tasered by police. He was a beautiful footballer, really, really good. Now, his brother says officers were called out because he was in a manic state and had threatened to kill his father. Relatives say he had a number of health issues and a weak heart. Richard Taylor is a campaigner who opposes an increase in the number of officers who carry tasers. We'll be hearing the other side of this argument later on in the programme. Richard Taylor, good morning.
Good morning.
No point in speculating on this situation. We don't know what happened. Let's put that to one side until more facts come out and the investigation is complete. But surely tasers do have a place.
Well, I've been campaigning against the increased rollout of taser to non-firearms officers since 2008, when the then Home Secretary, Jackie Smith, said that she would like to see all frontline officers armed with taser. And the situation we had before then was that all those police who were armed with conventional weapons, with conventional gun, had taser as an alternative. And I support that. I support giving the firearms officers a less lethal option. And I think all the police officers who are armed with a conventional gun should have a taser. But what we've seen very slowly over the last 8 years or so is a rise in the number of police officers who are responding to emergencies or out on patrol who are carrying taser weapons. It's becoming increasingly likely now that if you come into contact with the police, they will have a taser. And my concern is that we're not having a proportional use of force, and having our police use a proportionate amount of force in any situation is what everyone says is what we want, and that's what the police and police chiefs say we want to see as well. But when you've got a taser, it's very difficult for a police officer to know what the impact of them pulling the trigger or pressing the switch on that taser is really going to be. When somebody is tasered, they lose control of their muscles. They can't break their fall, so their head can fall with no resistance 2 meters or so down onto the floor. And if that floor is a concrete floor or a curb, then it can do serious damage.
But they're only used surely when there is a real threat. There have been some awful circumstances, some tragic incidents of police officers being shot where there has been an argument that had they had a taser, they would still be alive.
Well, we can't issue tasers to everybody who might get into a threatening situation. Like you could take that argument to an extreme and say that perhaps we should arm security guards with tasers.
But if police officers are going into a potentially dangerous situation.
Well, I understand that there isn't a case for giving the police more weapons, but it's a question for all of us what kind of police force we want and what kind of country we want to live in. I think that a core part of really the character of this country is that we have a largely unarmed police force, and I think that is something which I like about this country. I think it's something that makes it a safer and more pleasant place to live, and I think it's something that's worth trying to maintain.
But there's surely the use. Just a final thought on your point. Surely the increased use of tasers means a decrease in the use of guns, which is playing exactly to what you want this country to be like.
Well, no, I don't think it does, because we're not having an increased use of taser by officers who are also carrying firearms. This is an increased use in taser by officers who otherwise wouldn't be armed with any weapon. So I think it's actually an increase in the use of force. We don't have the police saying that they're using tasers more because they're facing more violence. The police are saying they're using tasers more because they've got more officers who have been deployed with taser weapons. I think that's the core of the problem.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us this morning. More on that later on. There's Richard Taylor, campaigner who opposes an increase in the number of officers carrying tasers. 5 Live Breakfast.